All right, we'll get started in just a minute. I think most people who have made it up this early are in by now. So let's see. All right, morning everybody. Thanks very much for getting up early for a virtual tour of the summit. We've got a few people from the Rubin staff up and about. It's mid-morning in Chile, and so we'll hear from a few different folks down on Cerro Pachon. Starting first with Yijun Kang, one of our observing specialists. Are you there, Yijun?
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Yeah. Today is windy, so hello, I'm Jung Kang, and a postdoc, and then one of the observing specialists from the Slack. And the observing specialist is for the supporting operation here at the telescope for the test and then night observation. And sorry for like this windy. So you can see here the main telescope building where the Simone telescope located, and then yeah, now it's winter down here in Chile, so you can see the snow here upside, and then yeah, it's the quite clear weather. So maybe others gonna give a tour soon for this main telescope building, and then on the back of mine here, you can see the one small telescope. It's also so Craig gonna be provide a tour for that. So that's it. And yeah, just enjoy the sightseeing here. And then I'm gonna give this call back to you, Phil, here.
Great, thanks a lot, Yejung. Nice to see the brand new building from the outside, and also the view across to Calibration Hill over there. I think we'll be heading over there in a second.
Sure.
Let's see. Elsewhere around the facility, inside the building, I think we have Kevin Reel on the call. Are you there, Kevin?
I am. Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Reel. I'm the Observatory Specialist. You may notice that most of the people you're talking to today work in California, but two of us live in Chile. Three of us live in Chile from Slack, and then Craig is from UC Davis. I am on the 4th floor of the observatory. I'm going to switch my camera. And you can see here on the 4th, from looking down on the 3rd floor, this is the camera maintenance area and the coding areas. In the background, the large structure is the coding chamber, is built by a company called Van Arden out of Germany. As we delivered things to the summit, this was the largest piece of equipment that we had to deliver, and it managed to get through the tunnel on the way to the mountain by about an inch on either side. Below me is the commissioning camera. Commissioning camera is a 144 megapixel version of the real camera. Same mass, same utilities, same everything except for focal plane size. And by mass, most of ComCam came from Tucson. By dollars, it was about 50-50 between the NSF and the DOE. Inside of this mass simulator, there is a small cryostat with a single wrapped tower, 3x3 grid of Rubin sensors, and it's about ready to go onto the telescope. And then finally, in the background, we have mirror number 2. It has a mirror cover on it, and it is supposed to go on the telescope tomorrow. But yesterday we found an issue with one of the actuators. So if you look carefully to the left, you see a team of people trying to fix that in time to be on time for an install tomorrow. Finally, there's a big door there that goes into the flow lift. The flow lift will take the mirror 1, mirror 3 up to the 8th floor and then onto the telescope. And finally, you can see the entrance to the clean room where Kevin Fanning is, and you'll hear from him soon. Back to you, Bill.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kevin. So we're going to have a few questions at the end of the tour. We thought we'd do the whole tour first and then see if you have any questions. So let's see. We have Craig Lage over there in the Oxtail Dome. How are you doing, Craig?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, so I'm Craig Lage. I'm a researcher at UC Davis. I work for Tony Tyson. Apologize for the background noise. It's real windy up here, and the doors rattle in the wind. But I'm going to try and give you an update on the auxiliary telescope. So let me just try and point you at it. There is the auxiliary telescope that's down at the big mirror, the main mirror, and then up there at the top is M2. It's an F1.2, it's a 1.2 meter F-18 Richie Chrétien that was donated to the project by some rich guy down in Arizona. Now, the main purpose of this telescope is to take spectra to monitor the atmospheric transparency. So the real workhorse part of it is what you see here. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Something.
not sure what happened there, Craig. Let's
Okay,
there you go,
are we
you're back. You're back.
Okay, so there's the spectrograph. In that gold thing is the cryostat that came from Slack, was built by Kirk Gilmore there. And inside there, we have a slitless spectrograph with a couple different gratings and a couple different filters, so we can take spectra of stars and monitor the atmospheric transparency. That's the main purpose of the auxiliary telescope. Just looking around here a little bit in the dome, you know, now you're seeing the dome. Up there is the dome screen. So we point the telescope at the dome screen for calibrations. And then over here is this box here that generates the light that shines up onto the dome screen for taking calibrations. We can do either white light or monochromatic light. So we can do a lot of different things calibration wise. You can see here that there's the shutter. I've got the shutter partly open to let some daylight in, otherwise it's dark in here. Over here, that apparatus there is the Harvard team built that to monitor dome seeing. It shines a laser beam down the barrel of the telescope, and then we can use it to monitor dome seeing. That's about it. How much more time do I have? We've got.
Oh, we have plenty of time. We can also come back to you for questions at the end when Kevin is dealing with that. But
Okay.
But since we have you, Craig, what's the weather forecast for tonight?
It was cloudy this morning, but it's supposed to be clear tonight. So we're supposed to observe tonight.
Good.
Yeah, so it's a little windy, but I don't think that will keep us from observing. That
Okay.
blue and white thing up there is, excuse me, a 3D anemometer that we use for monitoring the dome, the turbulence in the dome. This is probably one of the most instrumented 1 meter telescopes in the world. We've got all kinds of things here to measure accelerometers, temperature, humidity, position of the mirror, lots of different things. So, and then like we have a whole bunch of, this is a control box that controls the shutter. I'll go downstairs here. I don't know if you can see. Down there, the team is working on installing a new set of control software and hardware. I'm gonna step outside. I don't think I'll lose signal. But you know, you can see Gemini, and you see all the snow on the mountains. And then over here, you get a really good view of Cerro Tololo. If I don't lose signal.
Okay, so far.
Craig, as we switch over to me, why don't you walk towards the weather tower and people can see you on my camera.
There's him. We use monitoring.
Okay, thank you. That's the dim on the tower over there. If you turn around, Craig, can we take a look at Dream in its little box?
We can take a look. Get too far and lose signal.
Yeah. All right. Dream is the new all-sky monitoring instrument built in the Netherlands and contributed in kind.
Yeah,
Great, nice to see it all in place. Thanks a lot, Craig.
yeah. Okay,
All right,
All
you're
right,
getting a
Craig.
little hard to hear there, so let's turn it over to Kevin. I think you may have made it to level 5, Kevin. Is that right?
I am. I'm on level 5, and I have the Oxtel in my camera. Are you seeing me on the screen? Are you seeing the
Yeah.
Oxtel on the screen?
We are.
So that is the slit that's the slit is partially open, as Craig showed you. A little earlier today, Yijong said hello to you from down there. And so back over here is the auxiliary telescope. To the left, you can see Gemini, and in the distance, you can see SOAR. Below me is depth, also known as a cliff. And if I walk somewhat quickly in this direction, you should be able to see Sarah.
I think he was going to say Ceratololo. You might just be able to see a little nubbin on the hill over there. That's the dome. Kevin, come back to the Wi-Fi. I think he's going to turn around and head back into the building. He'll reappear in a second, I think. So it sounds like good weather tonight. Hopefully good weather tomorrow as well. This week we have Eric Christensen here from the Nighttime Ops team. He's actually downstairs these few days with Shuang Liang, another of the observing specialists. They're doing some remote observing down in the control room down there. Craig, I think we lost Kevin. Do you see him on the screen?
no, I don't see him either. I think you're right. I think we lost him. Maybe you should go to Kevin while we get Kevin. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Kevin, that's a good idea. Kevin Fanning, are you there in the clean room?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Fanning. I'm one of the commissioning scientists, postdocs here at the observatory from SLAC. And that basically means I do a lot of different things around the observatory to make it ready for on sky, including manage the DIM and DREAM, which were shown by Craig earlier. But today I'm here to show you the camera. I'm here in the clean room with the camera. We can see the lovely branding we have on the lens cap of the camera here for both the observatory and SLAC. But before I show you more of the camera, let me show you some of the things we have in the clean room that are interesting to talk about. Over here, we have a spare shutter for the camera mounted so it can be tested when we need to and regularly exercised. So we currently have a shutter inside of the camera that will be operated while we're doing EO testing in the coming weeks. Going more towards the back here, we have a lot of equipment, but like out the spare filter exchanger here. So again, this is the spare. There is another one within the camera to exchange filters. I believe at the moment it's currently loaded with 1 or maybe 2 dummy filters. The one in the camera. The one out here, the spare, is empty. We will walk over to the other side of the room where I can show one of the filters within its container. So the container for most of the optical filters reflecting through it. I will not answer which filter this is because I often get it wrong. My guess is U, but I have mistakenly labeled these before based off their optical properties. So let's go back to the camera here. In the front here, we have the optics and the filter exchanger. And then within this part here will be the cryostat with the CCDs. The filters in the filter exchanger will ride along the outside within the cover here in a carousel that can then be loaded in and out into the optical path here. We have 3 lenses for collimating the light. And then in the back of the camera, we have the brains, the utility trunk, as it's called. Here we have power supplies and controllers for the CCDs and the REBs, as well as hookups for all of the utilities needed for the camera. Currently, we have glycol, the cooling fluid that will be used when on telescope, hooked up and cooling the computing parts in the utility trunk. When the camera is in the dome, there will be quite a bit of concern about keeping it in concordance with ambient temperature to minimize dome seeing. So that's a large part why there's a lot of temperature controlling in the computer and power supply parts in the back here. Luckily today, it's a quiet day in the clean room, but starting soon, we will be beginning to cool down the camera and begin EO testing and moving towards getting this on Sky. With that, I'm ready to pass back to you, Phil.
Hang on, before we go, Kevin, I always hear this phrase, what is EO testing?
Electrical and optical testing. So this is where we take images with light, we exercise the filter exchanger, we exercise the shutter, and verify that we're ready to send it up onto the telescope.
Right, so test imaging in the lab sort of thing.
Exactly.
Great, thanks very much, Kevin. We may well be back with more questions later, but we're going to head over to level 5 and see if Kevin has made it inside the building again. Kevin, are you there?
I see him again.
I am back. Not sure where you lost me on level 5, but I'm now on level 8. So if you're ready for level 8, I'll go.
We are ready for level 8. We just FYI, we lost you just as you were pointing out Cerro Tololo.
Yeah. And so what you would have missed is I was telling you that the Blanco telescope on Cerro Tololo is the twin telescope of the Mayo telescope in Tucson. They were the original twin telescopes. And now, of course, there's the Gemini twins in Hawaii and just right next to us. Okay, are we ready to see level 8?
Sure are.
Okay, I'll start with the less exciting stuff. All around the dome are louvers. And I'm looking at one of the louvers. These are essentially windows that you can open up and let cool air in to help acclimatize the system. If you pull down on this, it will open up all the louvers. And in front of the louvers, because we want air but not light, we have a bunch of light baffles. Every pair of louvers has a light baffle in front of it. Then this is the door that opens up when the flow lift gets to level 8. To get that elevator, the flow lift from level 3 to level 8, it actually has to stop at 7. And then the roof of the observatory lifts off and comes up to this location. And this entire door opens up. And you see nothing but Chilean Andes and whatever piece of equipment you brought up on the flow lift. And of course, behind me is the Simone telescope. You can see a large circle in the center there. That is where the camera is fed through from the rear. We cannot install the camera until mirror 2 is back in place, but that's due in the next couple of weeks. If I work my way around here a little, you should be able to see the mirror 2 baffle. It's going to take me a second to get to where I need to go. Apologize for the shaky video. I'm now standing on the telescope. And up there, you can see a big black baffle that surrounds mirror number 2. And because this telescope always needs to be balanced when you move it, and we were on Sky with the telescope, we have star trackers attached. We have this big yellow cross that you can see in the back. That is the surrogate mass for the M1, M3. And then this is the mounting location for M2. I'm not sure how well that comes out in the distance. When I pan down here, you can actually see the sides of the inside of the telescope, and you can see the black baffles that keep stray light from getting to where you don't want it to go. And then along one of the pillars of the telescope over here, more baffling all the way along. And then the big circle of the telescope. And then looking back at the door opening for the Kuflo lift, and then one more step or two, and I'll show you the dome slit that opens up to allow us to see the night sky. It's on the opposite side of the dome from the telescope. As I make my way there, this is the elevation wrap. So all of the utilities that have to get to the camera have to go through the elevation wrap. There are stairs that go up there, and then there's a deployable platform just right above me here. A platform extends out to the sides of the camera so that people can get out and work on the camera in situ on the telescope. And then finally, starting low here, and then going all the way to the top of the dome, is the dome slit. In preparation for the installation of the mirrors and the commissioning camera, we're doing a top to bottom clean of the dome to make sure there's nothing forgotten somewhere up, for example, on the crane. You can see one of our team members up there right now on the lift, trucking for loose debris, wiping everything down, making sure everything's clean. So we are in the final stages of integration, getting ready for first photon with ComCam. So with that, back to you, Phil. Maybe we can take some questions.
I was just thinking that, Kevin. People have been sort of itching a little bit. So let's see, folks in the auditorium, if you have questions for any of the people you've seen on screen, Kevin or Craig or Yijang, now's your chance to ask anything you want, as if you were in the summit facility yourself. And we have a few folks, I think, on Zoom as well. So probably the easiest thing to do is just unmute and ask if you have a question. What are we looking at now, Kevin? What's that?
It's just one of the motors and gears to rotate the dome. And then these are the bogies that the dome sits on when it rotates. I'm just on the stairs between level 8 and down to level 7.
What speed are we up to with the dome now, Kevin?
Now that we have the geared motors in place, it can meet the requirements. I'm not sure we've actually gone to full speed, but we're pretty close. They want to get the gears perfectly aligned before we really let loose. But when we're on sky with ComCam, the dome rotation probably isn't going to be our limiting technical factor.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have a question here from Michael Strauss.
Hey, Kevin. You mentioned 8 levels. Can you quickly summarize what happens on each level? You've shown us bits and pieces of a few of them, but just want to get a sense of what's happening on each of those levels.
Oh, Kevin, can you unmute?
Yes, thank you. Level 1 is the entrance to the observatory, just stairs to go up to level 2. All of the utilities are there. The glycol, almost all of the utilities are there. The glycol to cool the oil system and the whole observatory. All of the power distribution, the camera refrigeration systems that cool the camera when it's on level 3. The air systems and the oil supply system that floats the telescope and, of course, lubricates the elevation wrap. Level 2 is where the offices are and the control room. There's also a kitchen / cafeteria. Well, just a kitchen. You make your own food. No one serves you there. Bathrooms. Level 3 is what I showed you when I first spoke with you. That is the maintenance area and the coding area. Level 4 is just a walkway above level 3. And then above the clean rooms, there's a room that has the air handlers, but that's the totality of level 4. On level 5, in the observatory side, there's a couple of offices. Well, used to be a couple of offices. It's the electronics team's office, and now it's has always been planned, it's the laser lab, so it's now set up for the calibration laser. Level 6 is only really exists underneath the telescope, and it's where all of the utilities go through the elevation, the azimuth wrap, and then it gives you access to the underside of the telescope. 7 is where I'm standing now, where you can, it's kind of where the dome sits. The rails of the dome are kind of at eye height. And then level 8 is the platform of the telescope.
Okay, thank you. So 1 through 4 is the sort of support building out the back, and 5 through 8 is the dome itself.
That's right. The 2 buildings kind of meet at level 5.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Let's see, we have a question on Zoom.
Yes, from Ross Sabayo. Are there any systems in place for natural disasters?
That's a broad-reaching question. We're, of course, designed for earthquakes. I can tell you that one of our technicians at SLAC was also a winter rover in the South Pole. And so he thinks about things like we ought to have military meals ready to eat on the summit. We have winter plans and evacuation plans in the case of a bad storm. But that's the list of things that I can think of off the top of my head. I can see Bob in the room. Maybe Bob can think of other disasters we're prepared for.
They're certainly prepared for everything, he says. They certainly loom large in our risk register, so we're taking care of them. Let's see, other questions for the team on the summit.
There's one more online.
Go ahead.
Andres Plazas Malagon, do you want to unmute?
Yes, hi, thank you. Why is the shape of the dome not spherical or semi-spherical like in other observatories? Does this affect the dome scene? I mean, it looks like a spaceship, which is cool, but I don't know if there's like a reason.
I'm going to say because it's better, but somebody in the room can probably tell us why it's better.
The building was designed because of the prevailing wind direction to minimize the effect on observations. And the dome itself, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, the design is the less expensive version of the spherical dome. We did have an old design that looked like a house on stilts maybe 10, 15 years ago that not only looked unimpressive, but it wasn't good for observations and for the impact of wind on the delivered seeing. So that's the main driver for the spaceship looking observatory.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Joko. Yeah, I mean, I remember noticing that our dome is sort of similar shape to the Subaru telescope dome. So in later years, there's been this move to less spherical looking things. I was surprised when I got there to see that how shiny the dome was. It's silver rather than white. So on a clear day, it looks kind of blue almost. Good. Let's look around the room. Any other questions in the auditorium while we have them here? I did want to tell you, Craig, the name of the donor of AUXTO is Edgar Smith. Who donated the telescope first to NOAO before it became NOALAB.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we've benefited well from folks like Edgar, also Charles Simonia giving us the Simonia telescope that Kevin Reel was just showing. Let's see.
So when I lived on 50.
May I jump in Zoom?
Yeah, go for it, Charles.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, as an addition to what you just said, Edgar had the Calypso telescope, that telescope built to write his thesis. And he got it done, and then it's down there now. So it's a very good story. We should tell that story often if it's possible. My question to all of you on the summit right now is, what is your favorite view from the summit? When we look at the summit, we see the Starbase looking main dome and are just awed by it. But you guys probably see even more amazing things. What is it that you would tell people to look at if you had the chance?
I like looking down the valley at Cerro Tololo, and often Cerro Tololo is sticking up there, and then there's just clouds underneath it. I think that's a nice view. And of course, the night sky.
Cerro Tololo is a classic. the secret best place to look at it is by the casino or the cafeteria. You get a really nice view there.
Excellent.
me-
So I have, go ahead, Jijong.
Yeah, so for me, our office is like kind of a control room. So I'm a control room here. And then this is the also good view here. Can you see here? The window here, we can see the mountain. It's my favorite.
I guess you spend a lot of time in the control room, Yijang.
Yeah.
And I have two favorites. One I shared a picture of with Phil this morning, and that is when the valleys are full of fog. We do astronomy on mountains to get above the weather, and usually we're above the weather. If there's clouds, they're down in the valleys and don't bother us, usually. And then the one I mentioned earlier, when the doors on the 8th floor are open to the P-flow lift, and it's 3 sides of that elevator are just Chilean skies. And of course, you're not allowed to go out there without tethers, so you can look from a distance.
When I last visited, I was lucky to be there with Chuck Claver, and he showed me the view straight up from the parking lot outside the building. It's such a good dark sight. He was casting shadows by the light of the Milky Way on a piece of paper. That was quite something.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Thanks a lot, Charles. That's a great question. Any other questions from here or on Zoom? Yeah, please. Microphone.
Hi. So I was thinking, seeing those images took me back to my graduate school days up on Mauna Kea. I'm curious, at that altitude, are you having a similar experience to what I had, where the first few days walking up the stairs was a bit of a chore, and then it only got slightly better over time? I know it's pretty high altitude up there.
We are much lower than Mauna Kea, but I think everybody on the team has felt that exact feeling first day on the mountain, especially if it's been a while. Gets a little, you get a little tired by the end of the first day, but my weekly workout regime is all the stairs on the mountain. So once you get used to it, it goes okay.
It's only 2,700 meters.
Not too bad. Okay, I think we're going to start getting ready for the plenary session here. So listen, thank you very much to all of you who've taken time out of your busy days to show us around the summit facility. And perhaps we could all give them a round of applause to say thank you.